Well, legends, we're heading out. You can see Paul is putting on arm warmers. This is what I talked about. It's about 11 Celsius right now, and it's going to go warmer. It's going to be like 20 something when we're done. But right now, for the next 2 or 3 hours, it's going to be kind of cool. So you got to put on things that give you the versatility. That's kind of what I talked about. Put this. Yeah. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, legends, we're rolling.
All right. Watch.
On this ride, Paul and I started our filming at Crust Pizza, went down Research Forest from 1488 with MT Mariah into Magnolia to 149 North past Cairn to Jackson Road to 1486. We filmed all the way into Bobville and we turned it off. We went through Mount Mariah on 1486 to Dacus. We left the group there, rode up through the forest, and then took 149 south back into town. It was a very mild day, but it started out kind of cool, about probably 9 or 10 Celsius, you know, 50, just around 50 degrees Fahrenheit. We returned using 2854 through the Grand Lake Estates onto Honia Egypt Road. That's all off camera. We kept the effort very low for the most part because we've been off for a bit and we just wanted to kind of ease back into things. We ended up riding longer than we had planned, but we had a lot of data issues. That's why you're going to see just a part of the ride.
All right, legends, we're just chilling today. Morning, guys.
Hey. Where's the other half?
He's just spot over there.
We saw Paul. We didn't see you, but we knew you were.
How you guys doing? Hey, Randy. Yeah, we hadn't been riding for the last week or so. Catching up.
I saw you last week.
Last week?
I guess it was 2 weeks.
It was 2 weeks ago. Yeah, it took off about a week or so. Yeah, it took a couple, just to catch up on stuff around that we've been neglecting. You know, you're riding all the time, people you don't see, and so. So how you guys been? Good.
Enjoying this weather, man.
I love this weather.
Not riding,
actually,
but enjoying the
it
weather.
felt very cold today. It's just like, you know, I'm not used to this. You get used to the heat and then we just flip.
Yeah.
Let's go, guys.
This mic gets finished.
Okay. Nah.
Where Tim go? Tim's here. You ready, Mike?
Lulo, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good. How are you?
Good. How you like this weather?
I love it.
Yeah, it was cold.
1488 Jackson,
Yeah.
Mount Mariah.
That's good.
Voorhees,
Yeah.
Gorilla Loop, up through the forest.
Oh, that sounds good.
Had a ride on 149 come home.
Oh, that sounds good.
Had a
Yeah.
little distance, maybe knock the pace
Stop
down.
at Taco on the way back. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. All right. Here's Mike. Where the Paul go?
Stay alive with me, man. When I went out the door, I'm like, surprise! I start riding, it's like, oh, she brought the layer.
Yeah, it's gonna warm up nicely by the time we get out there, but right now it's cold.
By the time we're done. 200 miles.
Yeah, it's cold. It's in the low 50s, and you know it was hot the week before. It just flips on us, so you never get used to it. Paul's using the restroom, I believe. We rode there together, and he went to the Kroger. It's on the left. So as these guys leave, I go and try to find him.
Did he go in there? He said something.
So I didn't see him. I didn't see his bike. I didn't go all the way. That's a Kroger grocery store over there, the brick building. I didn't go all the way to the entrance. He had parked his bike on the inside. So I figured, well, maybe he rode ahead because we got different spots that we use for our stops sometimes. So I speeded up here, but he had seen me leave the parking lot as the last rider in the bunch. And so he's coming. At this point, I didn't know. We get on research
I'm trying to
for
figure out where Paul is.
Yeah, so I don't see him, so I figure well, maybe he's up the road. But I know the guys had said that he went past them, and so I know he was somewhere using the restroom. So I rode up to those guys and asked them at the light if they had seen where he went. Right. And then in a short while, he shows up.
I was wondering where you were, man. I was wondering where you were. I went to the HEB, whatever that color. Okay.
Yeah, so he went to the Kroger grocery store there. We tried to, when it's cold like this, I drink a lot when I'm off the bike, on or off the bike. And so what happens is we try to make sure we take a health break before we start riding so we don't have to stop that frequently. Especially on the cold days where your body does not perspire the same way. We had planned to ride shorter today, but for us, we ride an hour with these guys. We ride with them, and then we go back. So we got 2 hours added onto whatever we do when we're out here. And where we go, it's usually at least 3 to 5 hour loop. Once you get out there, there's no short way back. So we ended up doing over 7 hours today. But but we dropped the intensity quite a bit, especially after we left the group. We got a chance to just ride at a conversational pace. We still worked the climbs, but we took a lot of interval rests.
Okay, got it.
Whenever you take time off the bike, you want to, whatever sport you're in, you need to ease back into it. Don't just go full blown into your routine. Don't jump right back and start doing intense stuff. And since this is the off season for us, we really just go and we do social rides for the most part this month anyway. There was a problem with my data file on the head unit. After the ride, it did not load to Strava. So those of you who follow Veloharmony didn't see a ride posted. But Strava had a problem reading the data file. I don't know if it had something to do with the temperature or whatever, but you will see that my heart rate and temperature, heart rate just stayed the same on this clip, and then after a while it would just go blank, and the temperature would go blank, but everything else was fine. So I went ahead and just went with that. I will test it this week and see what's going on. I've had the head unit for some time. Hopefully it's not getting on the fritz. But the power numbers are great. The power meter works great. So we're going to use that. And then next week, everything should be pretty much back up. I was able to fix the data using a software tool to get it loaded onto Garmin Connect. But it never made it to Strava successfully because they have different formats they require. So I didn't want to spend the time messing around with that. So I'll test another file, and the ride before this one, the file went fine. So I think it was just an issue on this particular data file. But without the data, the clips are not as engaging. You don't really know what's going on. We're warming up here. I got that power meter calibrated using the out and back calibration, which is the more complicated calibration, more involved with our software, and the accuracy just went up even more dramatically than it already had. So it's for real, it works well.
What's up, though? Hey.
My girl. That's not a girl. This guy though. This guy. You gotta say, he's a freak.
We're headed west. This is Research Forest. We're going to cut through a neighborhood up ahead and get on the FM 1488 towards Magnolia. Go up on Mount Magnolia. It's like a 3.5% little overpass. They built it to primarily allow the trains to pass underneath without stopping the traffic. So they really spiked it up. So if you live in a flat area and you have overpasses and you want to work on climbing, find an overpass and do repeats on them. So it was the first cold day. I don't know if it had something to do with that, but hopefully it's a one-off. I will extensively test all my gadgets.
Good so far, yeah.
The camera was acting up. Not the camera, the gimbal was acting up.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna make some modifications in the near future that should take care of all those issues. Take these films to the next level.
I parked it inside, not out.
Sounds like I thought maybe you brought ahead to our spot.
Yeah, I was telling him that I thought that he had gone ahead. We had another spot that we stopped at. It's a lot of privacy.
So when you got on the road, I saw you.
So he said he saw me when I was leaving because I was the last rider to leave. So then he started coming. I wasn't sure if he was in there or had gone ahead, because sometimes we'll ride ahead of the group, take our health break, and then by the time the group rolls up, you're ready to go with them.
Last minute thing, because as soon as I start peeing, someone else came in, I just stopped it.
As we're riding here, we're chatting, and then Paul spots a cat. You know, cats and squirrels don't cross the road very well. They wait till the last minute and then dart out. So we'll always pay attention to that. You will hear him say, "Look out for that cat." I went ahead and froze the frame because I didn't even see the cat. There's a cat, and he's hissing, or whatever, you know, what is the female? He's hissing at me. You know, the lady speaking to us on the right. So I wasn't expecting the cat to be there, and I thank you for calling it out because they can get in your spokes, and they get injured, and they can cause you to fall. Especially a cat, you know, squirrel, you might be able to stay upright.
I was like a man. Yeah. So Jerry came in with the horse group.
As we begin to ride harder later on, well, faster on this ride, it becomes clear that the wind is kind of blustery. It's not that high, but it's just everywhere to where it's one of those days where you did not get a perfect draft. You had to continually search for the pocket. You had to stay close to benefit.
Later in the morning,
They left. I wasn't there too long.
we got there 7:51 already. We got there.
Since it's the warm-up, cadence really doesn't matter. We're just talking. You just want to be in a gear that you're not straining in, and you're just kind of rolling along. You can see Max on the right is pedaling faster than Sam on the left. It doesn't matter right now because we're not really working or anything. But once the work starts, then it becomes important. So at this point in the ride, you want to just make sure that your reserves are topped off. You know, you're not hungry, you're not thirsty. This is when you kind of pay attention to address all those kind of things. Our plan here was just to sit in. I ended up later on taking some polls. I didn't mind so much, but because I don't like to spend a lot of energy fighting to sit in the back. I just kind of roll with what the line is doing. I think it takes less energy to do that than trying to always stay at the back. I don't always like to stay at the back.
This
I like to flow with the
warmer,
group.
man. I don't know what's on tinny. It's the best, man. Of all the
I have 2 sets.
Yes, I have 2 sets too.
Paul's talking about our arm warmers, the Veloharmony arm warmers. You can wear them on a morning like this that starts at 50 Fahrenheit or 10 Celsius, well up until you get to like 28 Celsius, which is like 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and they will be comfortable. I had to take off my arm warmers. He didn't. So I just told him, I said, I think I have 2 sets of them already. I'm gonna get extras because I haven't come across any other arm warmers that anybody has that performs like that. So those thermal fleece from Santini, they're working great. I sped it up here at the light because we're here for a bit. You see me adjusting my arm warmer there.
There we go.
The arm warmer came with that Milano Roma jersey that I'm wearing. It's a short light, so I started to tell him, come on, let's get through. Because as we go through, it changed. And right here, Paul and I decide to wave everybody up so that we can get everybody on film before the ride really kicks off. So you see people coming through because we basically intentionally wave them through so we can sit at the back. This is what I'm talking about with the data. The heart rate went blank, temperature went blank. But in the file, it's there. So that was weird. The problem only occurred after the ride when it was supposed to upload.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So this is what we made everybody go through so we get everybody on film.
Dan the man.
That's Abby on the left and that's Dan the man on the right. I complimented his kit. I like the stealth. So I like that kit. He's got the stealth all black. Then you see the black line in his socks. And then the chartreuse matching the shoes. So the shoes, the socks, the jersey, all of them match. That black, red going on. And then the black helmet. You got to put some thought into your kit. That's what I was talking about. That's why I complimented him on. It's clear that he put some thought into that kit. Dan likes chartreuse. Even before he got those shoes, he used to wear a lot of chartreuse socks. So he likes that color. It's very visible. You have to put thought into your kit. Your kit is your uniform when you're riding. You're going to do the work, you got to dress the part. Got to look the business. Look at Abby. Abby looking smooth on his new machine. Abby's jersey matches his frame. He's got chartreuse and black on that frame. And the jersey is chartreuse and black. Pick that up. So these boys don't play. You know, you got to put it together. You got to plan days ahead. Line up your kit for the weekend. Don't wait till the night before. Plan it. What I usually do is I have several kits that I think I might wear, and then I hang them near the front, just in case I change my mind. So we're really still in kind of a warm-up mode pace per se. Just rolling. You can see everybody, we're still 2 abreast. That's a signal.
I had a short
Because when it really gets fast, everything lines up.
and he's pointing like a dog. Apparently, I guess he wrote him and said, this guy's...
So you see how Abby picks up the chartreuse from his frame?
he must roll
And his jersey also has black and chartreuse. And he's got the white arm warmers matching the helmet. And then he got white on the shoe. Maybe I'm making too much of it, but those are the things that catch my eye. I think I'm part Italian.
This time of year, Robert Texas have been.
This is the brand I used to wear before I met you.
It's been around for a while.
Yeah.
It's up Colorado.
Abby is sporting Castelli shorts and Dan is wearing Pearly Zoomy shorts. That's what Paul was talking about. He used to have quite a few of those as well. Pearly Zoomy's been around for a long time and make good stuff.
Yeah.
It's just a size.
You will find that the different manufacturers have different pad sizes. And some riders prefer thinner pads, some riders, not so thin. So you find what works for you. That's why it's good to have the variety, so you can know what you prefer.
Yeah. I know. I always watch.
Mark's drifting to the back. Jerry's on the right there as well. I try to stay where you see me right now because it's usually the cleanest spot. It requires less attention as far as looking out for debris. So when Mark comes, I say, great, this is where I want to be, or something like that. He wanted to be here. I'll go ahead and rev up because I don't want to work. I want to sit in the Paceline. See my power goes up in the 400, and then drop it back. So when you accelerate, when you make vicious moves, that's when you really tap into the watts. That's why road racers surge. So on a flat road, if you're not used to hitting 600, 700 watts, and you have to do that 4 or 5 or 10 times in a criterium, that's why people get dropped. Your repeatability is not in place. That's what I mean that, riders get dropped on a flat road. You gotta prepare your engine for the kind of riding you do.
Are you filming now?
Yep.
You will notice that, I guess even here, but probably in a few kilometers, you will notice my cadence will consistently stay 95 plus. Mostly above 100 because this time of year, I'm giving my legs a break, especially this month of October, and just, using my aerobic system more than anything, just to let my body recover. If you have any kind of nagging injuries, now's the time to spin lighter gears, and just let your body heal. Because these spin sessions really test your setup. It's an opportunity for you to work on your entire fit while you ride. You tune your fit.
The good news is if the government, the care act gets approved, they will reverse what they just did.
Bring people back?
Yeah.
Paul and Mark are talking about, Paul works for United Airlines. Mark's talking about, these companies laying off workers and this and that. The economy is already struggling. But a lot of these companies that took money from the government still did not use that money to retain the workers like some of them promised. And now they're waiting for a second package, per se, to come out. Well, we know how that goes. They didn't use the money to retain everybody, and now they're going to be laying people off because business is not back. So I make a joke in a little while. Probably the camera didn't pick it up, and I said maybe they need to stop charging people for luggage. That's a policy they put in place which never made sense to me. When you get on an airplane, you're not going next door. That's why you're getting on an airplane. So why are you being charged to carry a bag? You need a bag. So I've never understood that. They got air travel in the U.S. whittled down to where it's not special anymore. You treat it like cattle. It used to be you look forward to getting on an airplane. Nowadays it's like, please, much rather drive.
It is quiet.
Maybe they would better appreciate the customers after this is over. We as consumers, we hold the key. If we decide we're not going to give them business, they struggle. We are more powerful than we realize. But we just have to be united. Because that's when you have strength. A braided rope is stronger than a loose one. If you get my drift. The United States of America. Mark's talking about his saga with that wheel. It's quiet today. Paul made the comment that it's quiet. I guess he's got the repairs done. They found out that was a faulty part. So it's been replaced. Hopefully that solves his issue. I don't have the patience he's shown. If I spend money on something, it needs to perform. And if it doesn't, then the person servicing it needs to step up with a coherent plan to deal with the issue. So that makes me want to come back to you next time based on how you handle it. It's how you handle your toughest challenges that sets you apart. If you take care of the disgruntled customer in a proper way, that disgruntled customer becomes an ally. That lets them know that you mean business. We got a lot of that, a lot of those taps, you know, like greeting horns. You'll see, we'll hear another one later on. I guess people were happy to see us out there today. Probably cyclists. Because this area, a lot of people, there are a lot of active people out here. We have a high percentage of people that work out, just in general, whether it's running, skateboarding, whatever. We've got the weather for it. We have about 300 days of sunshine. So that's the main reason I don't have any bike with dedicated eyelets. It doesn't rain that much. If I lived in the Northwest, I would definitely have full mud guards on my bike. This is slightly downhill in this section here, and if you're in a group ride and you're not planning on working hard or whatever, this is not the time to be at the front. There is no reason in a group this size. You go ahead and you sit in and just conserve your energy so that you keep your effort minimal. This is where the road starts to slope up. You feel it more than anything, and it gets there in a hurry. It's not very steep. I always try to make sure that I'm on top of the gear I'm in.
The thing is,
I'm monitoring my selection.
they just do it.
These guys try the same all year. So what ends up happening is
In a little bit, you hear me tell Paul, let's get closer.
that's the Randy's so I'm struggling.
Yeah. You're gonna tell he's putting it out.
Stay close.
Right there, I told Paul, let's stay close. So you see us ride closer because the road's going up now. So it says 1%, 2%. It gets there in a hurry. Now, you heard me say Randy. Randy's at the front. He's been sitting there for a while things were easy. Well, now things are going to get hard because once you're going up, drafting doesn't play that much of a factor. You got to work.
Oh, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
The software gives you an option to download these rides. Then it has a box that says erase after download.
We're talking about the Isaac software that comes with the PowerPod and how they could definitely do a lot more towards letting people use it. There's just not a whole lot of information per se, but they've done a pretty decent job. Nobody can write everything down. You got some things you have to figure out, you know. And I was just explaining to him that, you know, I'm one of these people that can just get into stuff and start using it. I don't really need to do a whole lot of reading, but I do reference stuff if I get stuck. So it's good to have the manual as a reference. I was explaining to him that you can download all the rides off the head unit. It stores your rides in the PowerPod, but you also have it in your head unit, like the Garmin and so forth. So you have to clean out the PowerPod periodically, otherwise it fills up. When it fills up, it just stops recording new rides. So if you want to keep it there, and the only reason you're going to use the data on the PowerPod is for working with the Isaac software, because your power numbers are also stored in your head unit that records it during the ride. So you don't need that. But it's good to understand how any kind of tool you have works. And if you're not somebody that wants to spend that little time, then the PowerPod is not for you. Because you need to invest a little bit of time to really understand how it works. Just in case something happens and you need to deal with it when you're on the road. You need to know what the flashing light sequences mean. You know, what does this mean when it's doing that and so forth. Instead of just saying, oh, it's not working. You need to know why. I'm really into the finding out why things don't work as opposed to saying they just don't work. so everything about the PowerPod has been a positive in that when it didn't work, I knew why it didn't work. But for the most part, it did what it needed to do. Any electronic device will have issues because you're trying to mate it with other devices like speed sensors and stuff that the manufacturer did not sell you. They do offer that on their site when you buy the PowerPod. They offer speed sensors that they've tested, but I already had one that qualified. So it's good to do your research and know that you're getting peripherals that will work with the tool you have. And then you won't have surprises. So it has just worked flawlessly. And look, it's working now in the cold, and my heart rate belt crapped out. So right here the road starts to go up, and you see Randy's falling back already. It's time to shift up to a harder gear because now you can only spin a little gear so much. You need something harder. You got to put some power in there. That's the thing about hills and wind. This is time for some strength. And the same thing's happening to Lulo here. So I'm going to put my hand in his back and I'm going to push him. And he's going to enjoy it. He's going to say, yay! Because I really give him a good push. Right there. I push him. There's no point in you hanging back. Let's finish this. It's here. Now, in a little bit, you're going to see where I talk about reading the road. Paul is so focused on riding hard. He doesn't see this right there. He doesn't see that. He hits it.
Yeah, I'm fine.
That's why I am where I am, because it's always super clean. I asked him if he hit it because I saw the log. Lulo didn't see it. He dodged it at the last minute. And he apologized to Paul because he didn't call it out, but that's not his fault. You've got to read the road. But Paul was very concerned about how hard he hit it and the impact on his wheels. But everything was fine. He didn't have any problems. But you do have to pay attention. You know, you start going hard, you know, you got to look. So right here, I go ahead and move to the front. Just using my cadence to get up. And we start to descend. And Abby ends up being in the way. So you will see me check for traffic. I didn't expect us to catch up to them that easily, but I guess they went hard and then they're taking a break or something. I check for traffic and just go ahead and use the road. I don't want to stop. I don't want to use my brakes. So we had all kinds of issues on our first cold weather day, but we've made some necessary changes to get equipment that won't. Right there was a glitch with the gimbal again. That's why I just jumped to this scene. The gimbal was quitting on us in the cold weather. Now when we stop, you see Dan's blocking that right lane. He's not aware of it. And in a little bit, you would see him. Once he becomes aware of it, he moves over because there are cars in that lane that were waiting. There, you see? Now he moved out of the way.
Yeah, I hit it
so
hard.
when you guys stop, use one lane. If you're going left, all of you need to be in the left lane. Don't take up the whole road. If you're going right, stay in the right lane. You're going straight, stay in the lane for going straight. Use just one lane so the other guys can the other road users can go. Because that's why people get upset. You don't need cyclists spread out across the entire expanse of the road. Take your proper lane and stay in it.
Yeah.
On an intersection like that, if I'm solo, I will do the same thing you saw the group do. I don't stand on the right side of the road if I'm going to go left. I'm going to plant myself in the left turn lane so everybody knows I'm going left. You go to the right of the road, then they expect you to either go straight or turn right. And even if I'm going right or going straight, I use that lane. I don't stay to the right of the lane. I stay to the left of the lane so that drivers that are turning right at the light can't turn, because in a lot of states you can turn right on red. So if you're in the right lane on a bicycle, stay to the leftmost part of that lane so those drivers can make that right turn. But then everybody knows that you're going straight when the light changes. It just communicates to everybody else your intentions. We start to go, it's windy. There are a couple of people kind of off the front per se. See right there? I think it's Lulo and Doug. They started out kind of early at the light and they just kept riding. So we go ahead and ride up to them. And my emphasis here is keeping my cadence high. So right here the road goes up, I downshift. Whenever the road went up, I would downshift. You would see my cadence start climbing. I didn't want to accelerate too drastically. I'm looking at to see who's there, make sure Paul was there, and we're just kind of gradually lifting the speed. It's a steadier speed, steadier pace. I'm still on the small chainring. I did not realize it until later and ended up shifting up. I'm in like a 39-13. I've got a 12 on that bike, so I'm not really cross-chaining. But that's what I ended up, I'm riding in. I was riding strictly in a gear that just felt right. I'm not sure why Paul let the gap open here, but he'll ride back. Oh, that's why. Well, he's blowing his nose, so he let the gap open so he could blow his nose to stay away from me and everybody else. I wish he had turned the camera around earlier, because I know guys were spread all over the highway after the turn, because those guys took off kind of quickly, and after the turn it takes a little bit for the group to get back together usually. Yeah, that's another guy greeting us. So we rode up. So that's Max, and Doug is probably pulling now, and I think Lulu is there. So we're on. Mike is on Max's wheel. So Mike pulled off. That's Mike who pulled off right now. I think Doug may be pulling. I hope I got the sequence right, if I remember correctly. Yes, roadkill. You see how effective the hand signals are. I didn't need to do anything other than avoid where they were pointing. So they pointed. I didn't want to go left. I went right. And I didn't even see the thing till I went past it. I just knew something was in the middle of our lane. It's more effective to point. Don't yell. It doesn't work. All people hear is a scream. They can't, it's not intelligible. In other words, they can't understand what you're saying in the wind. Yeah, I think it's Doug that's pulling right now. This road goes up and down. It says 1%. It goes anywhere up to 2.5% back and forth. So it's up and down. So you're working, and you constantly have to pay attention to your gear selection. Take a drink. I only brought one water bottle because when it's cold like that, I don't need to drink that much. And on top of that, I don't only drink water. I drink an electrolyte mix. I want energy with that water. Otherwise, I end up just stopping to pee very frequently. I use my body to avoid rolling over those things that you saw Paul rolled over, the little white ribbed edges there. I use my hips to keep the bike on the edge. There's a lot of crushed rock debris, these little rocks, when cars drive at these intersections. That's what we're avoiding. They can cause you to have a puncture, you know, if you go over them. And some of them can even cut your tire, depending on how you hit them. So I avoid them. Or if I do have to go over them, I lighten the load. And you don't have to stay in the lightning load, just put more weight on the pedals. I kept my cadence high because it requires less force to close gaps or to change the speed. It does tax your aerobic system. So it's a bit unfortunate that my heart rate is not displaying properly. But it was probably mostly in the 160s. You will notice that when we're going downhill, sometimes the wattage will go to 0, because when you're going downhill, sometimes you freewheel or you soft pedal. And this power pod is very sensitive to that. They did a good job. I didn't notice that whenever I would get close up on the rider in front of me, the watts required dropped significantly. You know, and those things are nice to see when you're actually analyzing, like using the Isaac software. It will give you the win and everything for each part of the ride. That's great to do that, but during the ride, I set it and forget it. I'm just riding. I want to feel the sensations of my legs. You'll see me scoot back over like that real quickly because I don't want to roll over those things. They don't feel terrible, but they're not that comfortable. So I just make a positive move and get over quickly. Once again, I just use my hips. We're approaching 149 here. That's the 149 interchange on the right. And if we go straight, this road becomes Jackson Road. This piece we're on is 149. It continues to the right. So as we go straight, that becomes Jackson Road. And it's a grade right here. So you need to be in the proper gear, or you get gapped. So Doug just pulled off, and now Lulo is pulling. This is the stretch where we could not find a draft. The wind's just kind of swirling around a bit. I got really close and it kept my effort low. And when I follow like this, I'm actually not watching the wheel in front of me that closely. I'm looking ahead of him to see what's coming. I'm watching the riders up ahead of him, as well as kind of glancing at him periodically. You want to know what's happening before it happens. And by the time your guy reacts, you really should be already in the know. So don't focus just on the wheel in front of you. Get everything in your view. A good shot of the rear there. Beautiful day. The sun's coming out now in its full glory. At this point, I'm getting a little warm. Because the wool arm warmers I'm wearing, they don't extend as far as our Veloharmony thermal fleece arm warmers that Paul's wearing. By the time you get about 20 Celsius, those wool arm warmers get a little toasty. About 70 degrees Fahrenheit. I tried to get the gel out of there, and I couldn't feel any of it. So in a little bit, I decided I'm going to push it up and then grab it. The pocket's a lot deeper than some of my other jerseys. So I push it up, and then I grab the tip, because I don't want to drop my gel. to do something like that, after you've practiced that from your solo rides, and as you do that, make sure you do it when nothing else is going on in the group, and make sure you're not overlapping wheels and all that stuff unless you're in an echelon and people are aware of what you're doing. But for the most part, you can see I'm following Mike very closely. I never overlap Mike because he moves. When he gets on his aero bars, he's a little squiggly, squirrely. He moves left and right a lot. I think he has too much weight on the bars, that's what I suspect anyway. So I make sure I stay close, but protect my front wheel. By that I mean that if he were to drift back, I would give myself more room, because sometimes the road goes up or people slow down, they can come back and cause an overlap. So you always have to be aware of that. So you don't want to be reaching for food or water or other things when people are doing something that's not smooth. That's when you need to be alert and have both hands on the bars. So I reach for my gel when we're just kind of rolling along steadily, and I backed off his wheel probably about 6 inches more than I had been following. I gave a little more room as I reached for my gel. And I kept my eye on his wheel the entire time. If you look at my cadence, look at how I'm ticking over compared to Mike in front of me. Everybody's got their own style. You do what works for you. You do what your body likes. If it feels good, then that's right for you. But I'm particularly doing this so that I stress my aerobic system at this time of the year. And it's handy to have that skill when you need to close gaps, accelerate, break away, open gaps. It takes snap. You're not going to drop anybody pedaling at 60 RPM. They'd have to really be out of shape. So remember, you need all of it. You need to ride like he's riding. You need to be able to carry a large gear and hold that speed once you maintain it. But you also need to be able to generate speed quickly, explosiveness. And I just prefer keeping my cadence up. That just comes naturally for me. That's my preferred way. But I can do what he's doing if I have to. That gives the versatility you need to be able to succeed, because what happens is there are times when you're going uphill that you don't feel like spinning. You need a push. There are times when you need a push. When it's time to push, you got to be able to push. So don't make yourself one-dimensional. Be a dynamic cyclist. Kind of like a Ferrari. You can hold the speed, but you can also get there in a hurry if you need to. Max is still pulling here. The wind is pounding us and the road is going up. You know that our speed is 30 kilometers an hour. That's about 18 miles an hour. And my watts are almost 280 to 300. So that's why I talk about not treating the speed. If I have my belt on, I can tell about it, because I remember this ride. My heart rate was probably 160 plus. I was in sweet spot or higher. So this is the work zone here. But my CP is about 302 as far as power meters go. CP, I guess, well, I call it functional threshold power, FTP. You guys are more familiar with that. CP is something that Golden Cheetah uses, which means the same thing. It used to be 302. I don't know what it is now. I don't like those tests. They're not fun, so I don't do them too frequently. Max pulls off, and Mike takes over. And you see Mike maintains his rhythm. right about here, I noticed when I was running the clips, you can see it says my cadence is 0. The speed is correct, but the cadence is off. So there are all kinds of little glitches with our electronics. Now the cadence is back. That's about right. So sometimes when we go near a lot of high tension wires, I notice that my speed sensor freaks out. So that's why you don't want to get too dependent on these gadgets. They're nice to have. When I'm riding, I glance at them from time to time. I really use my clock more than anything. I want to know what time of day it is, and I want to know how long we've been riding. That gives me an idea of where do we turn, and we need to head back, you know, because I do my training by hours. The road's going up here. GPS hasn't caught up to give us a grade yet, but you can see it. I stay in the same gear and I just turn it faster. This is a nice long climb. I really like Jackson Road. Look at this. You can get some good work done. Look at my watts. I'm above 300. I'm above my CP, my threshold. You can see the powers all over the place because as you go, there are pitches where it's steep, then it levels off a bit. Just real world stuff. That's why if you were looking at that stuff during a ride, you drive yourself crazy. A lot of riders that use these things, they average them. With the power pod, you don't need to because it gives you normalized power. Mike pulls off here, but he doesn't slow down. I don't accelerate. I hold the same force, the same effort. Because if you're not going to slow down, that means you don't want to be in the back. Because if you want to be in the back, you will slow down. Then he comes back to the front. He comes back. I am not going to accelerate just to get past you after you pull off. When you pull off, you back off. You drift to the back. Unless we're doing a rotating pace line, like a breakaway where we're all working and trying to force the pace to open a gap or something. We don't need to keep lifting the pace. I still haven't even put on my shades yet. It's on the back of my head still. I like to wear them backwards because they stay clean with no smears on them. When we get to 1486, I put them on. The road goes down here, swoops a little bit, and it kicks back up. Swoops to the left, kick up. Just beautiful out here. You watch the power, it's going to go up right here as the road kicks up. Because Mike forces the pace. And look at Mike's cadence. He's working really hard. Look at my watts. Almost 300. 277. Then it backs up right there. He lets up a little bit. Now, I don't look at that stuff when I'm riding. That requires too much attention. It's over 300 there. I just ride harder. And all I make sure is I'm in the right gear and that my legs are happy. That's what matters. Because that's what generates the watts. I go ahead and roll to the corner. He put his hand out. I'm not sure why, because we're just going to turn right. We're turning right. I check. It's clear. I let them know it's clear. You can't hear it. I check left. It's clear, and I turn. don't like to stop after going hard. I want to keep my legs turning, flush the lactate out. I'm putting on my shades over there. Because when we leave, it's dark, so I put that on the back of my head, and I just hadn't gotten around to putting them on. I check for them. Paul's right behind me. I check. Once he gets there, then I go ahead and resume. I see that he's there. I go ahead and resume. And I'm holding the effort by feel. Do the same thing he was doing. So overall, the ride was a very moderate pace. I'm not working hard here. I keep my cadence high, you know. This road's up and down. It's not flat. So whenever it would kick up, I would downshift and spin. See, right? It just jumped to 3% and 2%. That's what it does when we're out here. All of a sudden, you're going flat and then boom. You just like you feel something tugging at your bike. And so you have to be ready to be, you have to shift to the right gear. Otherwise, you end up just messing up your rhythm. At this point in the ride, I'm thinking, why am I up here? Because I had planned to just sit in. But what ended up happening was a lot of people did not want to pull through, and it just required less energy to just flow with the ride. And at this point, I was feeling pretty good. I decided I'm just gonna sit here. I didn't expect to feel as good as I was, but I guess that week off was good for my body. My body needed it. And sometimes you can ride too much to where, you know, you go on a ride, you can't even get your heart rate up because you're so tired. Didn't have that problem today. My body was revving today. So it's really good that you rest enough. I can't stress that enough. You need to rest properly to be able to perform at your best. That's Mike back there. And that's Doug behind Mike. Doug still got his light on. There's a lot of little rocks. You see, I tried to stay by the white line. Those little rocks, they're not the only thing there. Whenever you see a lot of little rocks, there's smaller, sharper things there that you can't see easily. Those are the things that can cut your tire or embed themselves in your tire and then later work their way in, you know. So anytime there's a lot of stuff on the pavement, I'm like, you know, I'm leery of them. So I'm not riding hard here. I make sure I'm downshifting. Look at my cadence. This road is not flat. Yeah, it says 2%. I feel that it's not, and I downshift and I rev. So the speed is reasonable. The effort is also moderate. Like 200 and some watts. That's like my zone 3. The high 200s anyway. So you can train the power, you can train to heart rate. I prefer to train by feel. I let Paul know to just come through and roll off. He hadn't been training that much, you know, neither have I. And so I was like, you know, just let's ease back into it because we have more to do. This is like 2 hours into this ride. We have another 5 hours to ride. Now go ahead and run the credits. I want to thank our sponsor, Divine Mercy AG Church Kish Fabrication. If you need a custom bike, contact us. We'll get you measured and get Kish to put a titanium bike together for you. Paulie Lunga, Joe Nanga, Reed Side. Thanks for supporting the channel. All our channel members and those of you who support Veloharmony on Patreon. We appreciate your support. Without you, we wouldn't be able to do this. Consider becoming a member on YouTube or supporting the channel so we can keep cycling educational topics flowing. This is Jerry. Jerry said, yeah, I have dibs on the back here, and we're ending up in the back. The road's going up here. It says 1%. We're going to be turning soon. That's Mount Mariah coming up. At this point, we're turning off the power. We're not really working that hard. I'm checking for traffic. You're going to see now one of our village geniuses. Hint, hint. He's behind there. I already told him we're going to be turning left. You'll see me point again. He's behind Paul, pulling a horse trailer. I let him know we're turning left. I guess that wasn't clear enough for him. Watch. He's turning left on the same road we're turning left. And he figures that's a smart move. So now he has to wait. And then he turns in the opposing traffic lane. So what if a car was coming? I mean, it's such a dumb decision. Paul said, block the road, take the road. You know, that's the kind of stupidity that's out there. Sad, but true. You know, not much you can do about that. You just ride safely.
Good, good. Don't push too much. Spin. Saw me spinning like crazy.
So I was telling Paul not to push too much because these roads go up and down because we got 5 more hours. We hadn't planned to ride that long, but we knew that we were going to go further. And these guys like to stop. We don't like to stop that much. I wanted to get Paul's kit. That's the Veloharmony arm warmer, and I haven't found one that is as flexible as that one. From cold to like 80 degrees Fahrenheit, you can wear that thing.
You got plenty of footage anyway, right?
I like that. You don't have to take it off and stick it in your pocket until it gets well above 80 degrees, and that's not very often. So whenever I wear the Veloharmony arm warmers, I just wear it for the day because usually those are days where the temperature stays under 28 Celsius. I hope you all got a chance to get some K's in. This is what we did, some of what we did on Saturday. We're back to riding again. Stay active and keep those doctors fired.